Hello and welcome to the Luv Doc podcast with hosts Waldo Wachewski and Ophelia Brewski.
Today, we are looking at the Luv Doc.
Right. And I know what you might be thinking.
Yeah, before you roll your eyes and think we're analyzing how to goose someone, hold on, this isn't that.
It definitely isn't.
Yeah.
While the Luv Doc usually handles young and restless suitors, playing games to secure a mate, this specific column is something else entirely.
It's titled Some Sassy Support.
And it's a case study in navigating, maybe the heaviest thing a person can go through.
Right.
The death of a lifelong partner.
And what caught my attention right away wasn't just the grief, which is so palpable, but the tone of the request itself.
The tone, yeah.
We're looking at a letter from a woman who signs herself seeking sassy support. She's a widow. Her husband of 38 years had died just the summer before.
And she describes herself as inconsolably bereft. It's just a crushing, heavy phrase.
It is. But then, in almost the same breath, she pivots.
That pivot is the key to this entire thing. She writes, "If you are up to helping me with some real healing, please doctor me up." But then she puts a condition on it.
She wants sassy support.
Exactly. She's essentially saying, look, do not give me the soft, whispering pity that everyone else is giving me. I need something with a pulse, something real.
That distinction is just fascinating. It suggests she's, exhausted by the whole performance of mourning.
I think so. She even calls it the ultimate and eternal breakup.
Right, as if she's trying to frame this immense tragedy in the language of, like, a bad date just to get a handle on it.
It's a coping mechanism. It's called cognitive reframing. But usually you see a therapist guiding someone to do that. Here, she's doing for herself.
She's trying to drag this huge existential loss down to a level where she can actually grapple with it.
And she even roasts the Luv Doc's author photo. What did she call it?
A witness protection bearded likeness.
That's brilliant.
And she doesn't stop there. She drags his colleague into it, this guy Rob Bresney, the astrologer.
Right, who's usually pitching his wares 1 inch to the right of his column.
She's signaling her capacity for humor. She's basically telling him, I am in hell, but I am still the kind of person who laughs at bad author photos.
And that, right there, gives the Luv Doc permission. Permission to respond in a way that, most grief counselors never, ever would.
Which brings us to the response. Because how do you even answer that? If I got that letter, I'd be terrified of saying the wrong thing.
Oh, for sure. You'd probably just fall back on the usual, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Exactly. But the Luv Doc, he leans right into the absurdity she created. He starts with the astrologer.
He does. And functionally, this is just a masterclass in building rapport. Instead of starting with the death, he starts with life.
Specifically, the ridiculousness of life in the 90s.
Yeah, he validates her call out of Rob Bresney by remembering hanging out with him during the grunge era.
He paints such a vivid picture. He says Bresney wore an aggressive amount of tie-dye.
An aggressive amount. Not just some tie-dye.
I love that.
And he contextualizes it. He says, look, if you're selling celestial fever dreams, you can't really show up in a Brooks Brothers suit. You have to look the part.
So it's a defense of his friend, but it's also a signal back to the widow. He's saying, I hear your sass, and I can match it.
It completely breaks the tension. It's that court jester moment. You have to laugh a little before you can really face the crying.
He even jokes that Bresney would happily throw meaningful constellations her way because, and I'm quoting here, what's it going to cost him? His legitimacy as an astrologer.
A little sharp jab there. But think about why he's doing this. If he'd started with all the heavy emotional lifting, she might have just tuned out.
Right.
By engaging in this little bit of banter, he proves he's listening to her, the person, not just the grief.
But then the tone shifts so fast. It's almost like the tie-dye was the bait, and now he drops the hammer.
This is where the column goes from just being, entertaining to being profound.
He strips away the whole Luv Doc persona.
Completely. He says he lacks the luxury of a whole field of pseudoscience to cushion his answer. And then he says something that just struck me as wildly vulnerable for an expert.
What's that?
He says, I have to admit, the idea of receiving a letter like yours keeps me awake at night.
Keeps me awake at night.
Wow.
That's not an expert talking. That's a human being admitting fear.
It just levels the playing field. Usually advice columns are so top down, I'm smart, you're confused, here's the answer. But here, he's saying, I'm actually terrified of your pain. He questions his own tools, saying he only has an embarrassing amount of hubris.
So by admitting he's totally unmatched by her loss, he actually validates her loss more than any easy solution could have.
It's the imposter syndrome admission that somehow builds total trust. If he pretended he had the magic fix for death, you wouldn't believe a word he said.
You just think he was a liar.
Exactly. And that vulnerability leads him to the only honest conclusion he can offer. He acknowledges the 38 years as a testament to love, and then he drops the hard truth.
That's an impossible hole to fill.
Impossible. He doesn't say it just takes time or you'll get over it. He says it is impossible.
And that's crucial. Trying to fill the void left by a partner of 4 decades. It's just a setup for failure. You can't do it.
So he offers a different metric, a completely different goal. He says, instead, I think you should start by trying to fill your day.
Fill the day, not the hole. That feels like such a pivotal distinction.
It shifts the entire focus from the existential, this overwhelming black hole, to the logistical.
The manageable.
Holy crap! You're psychotically obsessed with the Luv Doc, but can't think of a flashy gauche way to share your obsession with the world? Stop thinking and make a beeline for the Luv Doc's home sweet home on the interwebs, thepleasurecraft.com, where you can find a veritable treasure trove of sick merch that will make even your coolest friends super gel. Honestly, I don't know why you didn't already think of this yourself, but you're welcome. Have fun on the Pleasure Craft. It was made just for you. Let me spell it out for you one more time. www.thepleasurecraft.com.
In psychology, we talk about behavioral activation for things like depression or grief. The brain is just overwhelmed. The whole is way too big to process. But fill your day. That's a task.
It's an instruction.
It's a concrete action. And he gets very specific about those actions.
Oh, he does. He doesn't just say, go do something. He uses this wonderful coffee and croissant analogy.
Right. He describes his own column as being nearly a coffee and a croissant long and tells her to go to a bakery to actually read it.
The specificity is the medicine here. When you're in deep grief, you suffer from just massive decision fatigue. I mean, even deciding what to have for lunch feels impossible.
Like climbing Everest, yeah.
So by giving her a script, go to bakery, buy pastry, read column, he removes that burden of choice. He gives her a mission for the day.
But there's a catch. There's a condition to the mission. He says, if you're going to a coffee shop, you should invite some friends.
And he's so clear about why. He says, I am not trying to pad my readership, but I am trying to pad your friendship circle.
This connects right back to that idea of filling the day. It's behavioral activation through social contact.
Yeah.
But notice what he doesn't tell her to do.
He doesn't tell her to go talk about her feelings.
No. He just tells her to be there with people.
And he draws a really hard line here when it comes to technology. He totally anticipates that she might try to fill that social void online.
He does. He explicitly warns against internet chat rooms, or my favorite, spicy Facebook comment threads.
Spicy Facebook comment threads. We all know that little dopamine hit he's talking about. It's so easy to mistake that digital noise for real connection.
But the Luv Doc is just adamant about the physical presence of other like-minded human beings.
So why is the physical part so non-negotiable for him? He even jokes about it, saying maybe you can ask ChatGPT why, but he insists that it just works.
Well, it comes down to co-regulation. We're biological creatures. Being in the same room with someone, hearing their breathing, seeing their micro-expressions, just sharing a space, it triggers a physiological safety response that a screen just can't replicate.
So a Facebook comment might spike your adrenaline or something, but it's not actually calming you down.
Right. It doesn't release oxytocin. It doesn't calm the nervous system. He's pushing for what actually physically heals.
That makes a lot of sense. And he frames this whole shift with a really powerful phrase. He says, instead of seeking consolation, seek connection.
That, for me, is the intellectual anchor of the entire piece. Consolation is all backward looking. It's focused on the tragedy.
It forces the other person to look at your wound and say, wow, that looks terrible.
And that's exhausting for everyone involved. But connection is present tense. It's about what's happening right now in this coffee shop over this croissant.
It also completely changes the dynamic for the friends she invites. I think a lot of grieving people worry about being a burden. You know, they think nobody wants to hang out with the sad widow.
Exactly. But if you shift the goal to connection taking, a sincere interest in their lives, as he suggests, then you're not a burden, you're a friend.
He says people will be delighted to hear from her.
He's trying to get her out of that self-isolation trap where she assumes she's somehow radioactive just because she's grieving.
So the prescription is, accept the whole as permanent, but fill the Tuesday schedule with croissants and actual physical friends to trigger that co-regulation. But then he goes a step further. He actually brings up romance.
Which is so bold. I mean, she just said she's inconsolably bereft. Most people would say, give it a year.
Not the Luv Doc. He says, here are the websites. Our Time, Date Me Age, eHarmony.
But he frames it very carefully. He says it's a ways off, that it belongs on the back burner. But he suggests using them now as a form of entertainment.
Right. Have a hoot browsing profiles with your friends.
It's brilliant. It's like window shopping for a future life. It's incredibly safe psychologically. If you actually go on a date, the stakes are so high, there's guilt, fear, rejection. But if you're just browsing profiles with your girlfriends and laughing at the bad bios, you're reintroducing the concept of romance without any of the threat.
You're turning the scary thing into a shared joke.
And it plants a seed. He uses that great phrase, finding an interesting old geezer who will rock your world.
Interesting old geezer. I do appreciate that he keeps the expectations realistic. He's not promising Fabio.
No, just an interesting geezer. It's grounded. But by putting that image in her head, that her world could be rocked again, he's challenging the idea that her life ended when her husband's did.
He's telling her she is still a viable candidate for joy.
Even if she isn't ready to sign the contract just yet.
It's so interesting how he weaves the humor back in here. The sass she asked for becomes the tool she can use to browse these profiles.
It's like he's handing her back her own sword and saying, here, use this to cut through the loneliness.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. The humor isn't a distraction from the work of grief. The humor is the work. It's the proof of life.
And he wraps the whole thing up by circling right back to the beginning. He calls his advice a coffee and croissant worth of advice. And then he kicks it back to Rob Bresney.
The sign-off is perfect. He says Bresney will probably find her a Scorpio in Uranus.
Which is, it's a completely juvenile pun.
It is absolutely juvenile.
But for a woman who is drowning in the seriousness of death, a juvenile pun is a lifeline. It forces a smile.
And if you can smile at a Uranus joke, you are technically, biologically, just for a moment, stepping out of the grief state.
It reinforces the entire Sassy support theme. He honored her request. He didn't treat her like she was a porcelain doll that was going to break.
No, he treated her like a woman who needed a laugh.
And that really brings us back to the whole mission of this deep dive. We think of advice columns as these throwaway things, fluff to read at the dentist. But this one exchange highlights a pragmatic philosophy for dealing with existential loss that I think is more useful than a dozen self-help books.
The idea that we need to stop trying to fix the unfixable.
Exactly. We spend so much energy trying to process the loss or find closure. The Luv Doc is arguing you can't process a 38-year loss in a season, so stop trying.
Just process the coffee.
Process the coffee. Process the conversation with a friend. Process the funny dating profile.
It's the difference between trying to drain the entire ocean and just, learning how to swim.
Or just building a raft out of croissants and bad jokes.
I think that distinction between consolation and connection is the thing that's going to stick with me. We are so conditioned to offer consolation because it feels polite.
Is the script.
But connection is what actually heals.
Connection is brave. It requires showing up. Consolation is just a script we read. He's asking her to just toss the script and show up.
And showing up doesn't mean you have to be happy. You can show up sassy. You can show up angry. You just have to be in the room.
In the room, preferably wearing some aggressive tie-dye, if we're following the Bresney protocol.
I think we should all adopt the Bresney protocol from time to time.
Yeah, I think the world would be a slightly less serious, slightly more bearable place if we did.
Before we sign off, I just want to leave everyone with a thought to chew on. We talked about how the writer asked for sassy support as a way to avoid pity. But it makes me wonder, is that sass, that humor, actually a survival mechanism?
Go on.
Like maybe the ability to crack a joke in the face of the ultimate breakup isn't a deflection from the pain. Maybe it's the most resilient part of the human spirit refusing to be extinguished. The laugh proves you're still here. It's
the spark in the dark.
Thanks for joining us. Go fill your day.
Thank you for listening to the Luv Doc podcast.
To read the column that spawned this podcast, go to austinchronicle.com/columns/the Luv Doc. There are probably worse things to do with your time, right?